Hello everyone, to all my beloved friends, welcome back to another video. For today's video, let us talk about the top 5 best raiding DPS packs or suitable raiding composition in Shadowlands for the first raid class on Nathria. We will consider in terms of damage output, defenses utilities, and the playstyle of this pack. If your main consideration is not on the list, don't get upset since these specs are gonna be the selective specs for the guilds to have a best comp, and that doesn't mean that the rest is just trash. And actually most of the specs are performing relatively close to one another. If you have any question or concern, leave your comments under the comments box down below and we will try to discuss together. As usual guys, to ask for your utmost favor, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more future contents, and remember to ring the bell. Let us begin. For a long time since the beta started, Affliction was considered the best raiding spec by many people. They are not wrong about that consideration that the damage output of Affliction was insane, especially during the execute phases with their Necrolord Covenant ability Decimating Bolt. However, this ability received a nerf, and this nerf caused a big power loss for the spec, but even after the nerf, this spec is still performing really good. Affliction is a dodge management spec which gains more and more power with every dodge present on their target, and the new addition Malefic Rupture gives them the burst damage they were missing out. Affliction is a quite durable spec, meaning to say they can survive from unexpected damages and sustain themselves better. Plus, most of the abilities of this spec are instant casts which can be used while moving. This makes this spec lose minimum amounts of damage on heavy movement fights, considering most of the casters have to stand still while dealing damage, aka hard casting. This is a great advantage for the spec. In addition to this, Demonic Gateway is one of the most useful mobility tools for raids and will be needed in some of the fights. Also, Burning Rush can be useful for speed boost if picked up from the talent choice, and they can use Demonic Circle to get away from expected mechanics of the fights. And lastly, they bring health stones and summoning stones to the raid, and they are highly valuable, especially if your guild is consisting of lazy people to move to raid location or slow moving. Affliction is one of the best specs right now when it comes to raiding with its incredible DPS and survivability. And if you are looking for a ranged spec and enjoying the playstyle of the spec provides, you can easily go with Affliction Warlocks in Shadowlands, as I mentioned in my best Mythic Plus DPS packs video. And next I'm gonna put Shadow Priest to this list as well, because the spec is absolutely dominating the charts right now. The spec shows its potential in fights with more than one target stack and can stay alive long enough to receive the full damage from the dodge. Also, the way the Devouring Plague works enables the class to deal really high single target damage, since the damage of this spell stacks if you apply it again before it expires, aka Ignite mechanics. The spec received some nerf through its legendaries, but even after these nerfs, it's still performing extremely well. Also, this spec has some real options when it comes to the talents, unlike most of the specs where one of the options just dominating the others. With Shadow, you can actually choose the way you want to play with your class based on your talents, at least up to some degree, which gives this spec a great adaptability to different situations. This spec excels at sustained damage over time and has great sustained ability through Vampiric Touch and Devouring Plague, and has sufficient defensive to survive most of the incoming damage. However, the dodge management can be tricky if you are a new player, since it requires you to track them all the time and you need to plan your movement since most of the abilities require you to stand still. Overall, Shadow is one of the best specs you can go for as a ranged DPS in Shadowlands. This spec has a unique stamina buff for the raid and a very strong off-heal with Vampiric Embrace. Also, it brings great damage to the team and offers a unique playstyle with some depth or extra learning curve into it. If you are considering Shadow right now, I highly recommend you to give it a shot when the Shadowlands arrives. Third spec on the list is going to be the Frost Death Knight. Some people might be doubtful right now, and I do understand, but let me explain. When you look at the overall damage output, Frost is not on the top but definitely competitive. Also, the main reason for Frost to be on this list is their Death Grip, which is going to be highly valuable in a few fights within the Castle Nathria. And just for that reason, people will want Death Knights in the team. You might be wondering why Frost and not Unholy. It is simply because Frost is performing better than Unholy right now. Unholy is really powerful when there are stacked enemies. However, in raid environment that is not the case and Unholy loses its charm, while Frost can still perform well in that environment. Also, Frost has really good AoE damage as well. This spec has really high burst damage potential with Breath of Sindragosa, and it will create a big chunk of its overall damage. Also, the spec is considered easy to play, and if you haven't played it before, which is a great advantage if you are planning to play Frost DK. Also, Death Knights provide anti-magic zone, and I think this is by far the most useful raid-wide cooldown amongst DPS specs. It provides 20% damage reduction for 10 seconds, and it's on a 2 minutes cooldown, and we will see a lot of uses of this ability in Castle Nathria. Overall, Frost is definitely in a good spot when it comes to raid in Shadowlands. I can easily say that you are not going to be left out in raiding teams. Death Grip and Anti-Magic Zone are bringing incredible value to the raid. The DPS output is good, but if Blizzard tune up a little bit, we can easily see the Frost on top of the DPS meters. Also, the animation of the spec are just fantastic. I don't know if you are interested in that, but yeah, and if you are looking for melee DPS, I can recommend Frost DK for you. Subtlety Rogue is going to be another viable melee option for the Castle Nathria. As I said in my previous video, the class received a big nerf through their Covenant ability, which is 50% by the way their damage output decreased. However, it is not enough to kill the sub-rogue. Subtlety is one of the best damage dealers in the game when it comes to single target. Their burst damage is coming from the deeper dagger conduit combined with the soul fragment. Also, this spec has really good cleave damage on top of its strong single target output. In addition to their high damage output, their survivability and self-sustain is pretty good as well. They have magic immunity with Cloak of Shadows and Feint for some damage reduction. Also, the Crimson Vial is a great self-heal, and these are going to be really valuable in the Castle Nathria raid, since the raid is quite challenging for melee specs overall with lots of mechanics against them. Anyway, if you are interested in playing a melee DPS spec, Sub-Rogue is going to meet your expectation for both damage and gameplay. This spec provides a unique playing style with rather a steep learning curve, and it might take some time to get used to it. But once you get there, it is really rewarding and joyful. If you like the spec and it sounds like something you will enjoy, you might want to consider this spec in Shadowlands. Frost Mage is going to be the last spec on this list. This spec is looking pretty solid in Shadowlands for both Mythic Plus and raiding perspectives. The spec shines in fights with lots of cleave damage and provides sustained single target damage. Their best legendary Cold Front got nerfed in the latest update, but the spec is still performing really well. In most cases, Frost Mages are really good at getting the small adds that are spawning. Also, their damage output is not fluctuating and quite predictable, which is a good thing. If you don't like waiting for strong cooldown to deal damage, but the spec is really reliant on its procs and there is no bad luck protection against it, which might be a problem, but their rotation is fairly simple and easy to get used to. This makes them a good option if you haven't tried it before. On top of their good damage, they also have really good mobility for raiding scenarios. Blink or Shimmer if talented is a great burst mobility that can be used to get out of pretty much on any difficult situation which requires you to move instantly. And you can keep casting while using Blink, which makes it a bit more valuable. In addition, mages have an immunity with Ice Block and almost constant shield with Ice Barrier, which adds up to their survivability. They bring an intellect buff to the raid and they have Bloodlust as well. I can consider Frost is a great package if you are looking for a rage DPS pack and enjoying a simple playing style. Alright everyone, that is all that I can say for this recommend top classes to pick up in our first raid tier in Castle Nathria. Again, as a disclaimer, the video content here now is based on the beta testing. Tuning and rework is still underway. Hopefully we can get a very solid result before the release of Shadowlands, which is really close, aka less than a month. As usual folks, to end my story, it is my personal overview which may be right or wrong. If you have any ideas, concern, opinion, anything to add up, feel free to drop under the comments box down below to discuss. I appreciate for your full support. Thank you everyone for watching and see you again in the next video. Take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful day.